Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm with Dean Lloyd. Dean is a criminal consultant, counsellor, and someone with an incredible story through his lived experience. Having served a prison sentence, Dean now helps men who've been released from prison turn their life around through his consulting, getting them into employment, helping them with their preparation, and getting them connected to community. Dean has lived and worked amongst the most privileged in society and the most discriminated against in society, from the highs of property and prestige to the depths of battling substance abuse. Dean is living proof that when supported appropriately, people can change. Dean is the founder of the Lloyd Criminal Consulting Group, with his mission to provide just and equitable access to systemic change, collaborating, building, and designing new frameworks for significant social impact. Dean also works full-time with the Deadly Connections Community and Justice Service, providing practical support directed at breaking the cycle that results from the involvement in the criminal justice system. Now, I've only met Dean once, but we had a great chat, and I think we were hugging at the end of it,
Yes,
because I was so taken back by Dean's story. But I'm really excited to welcome Dean today. How are you, Dean?
good. Very, feel a bit, overwhelmed by the introductions, but very appreciative, David. And just give a shout out to Amy Smith for the introduction as well, that put us two together.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I do remember that chat a few months ago. It was incredible hearing your story, and hopefully we'll get to hear that again today. So yeah, we'll jump straight into it. So Dean, what's well-being mean to you?
Well-being means to me, so when I think about well-being and what the pictures in my mind's eyes, it's holistic. It's everything. It's not just, it's not just exercise. It's not just food. It's not just mental health. When I try to take care of myself and teach others how to do that for themselves, how I have been taught, it's about that practical, easy to do, entry level solutions around mental, physical, spiritual. That's how I look at it. What I'm putting into my body and who I'm hanging around, that's my well-being. And that's how I protect and guard myself. So down to the food, down to the drink, down to people I'm associating with and hanging around with, and exercise. I need exercise on a regular basis for sanity, really.
Yeah, I know how you feel. If you don't get that workout in, sometimes you just don't feel right, do you?
Yeah. I can feel it sort of building, it's like that cup. If I don't fill my own cup up, I can't let anyone else have a sip from it.
Yeah.
And if, when I'm exercising, I feel like that's filling my cup up.
Yeah, I love that. If you give to yourself first, then I think sometimes it's easier to give to others. So I completely agree with you. So in terms of your journey, Dean, obviously you've got a passion for helping people turn their lives around, but yeah, would you be happy to share your journey and where you get this this passion from?
So as a result of some substance abuse issues when I was younger, in my earlier years, around 18 to probably 32, I think I turned my life around. Started to think about turning it around. I got mixed up in making poor decisions and hanging around with people that didn't have my best interests, and I didn't have their best interests at heart either. However, that got me into trouble and got me involved with the law and the criminal justice system, a significant heroin addiction, I would say. And then, subsequently was charged and I was sentenced to 4 years and spent a couple of years in prison. And then once I got out, what I realized was, I sit in the most privileged demographic in the world. I'm a white male. So, the world's sort of set up to revolve around me in essence. And, everything that I did and all the opportunity I had and all the favor I had, I just managed to scrape out of not going back to jail. and was provided an opportunity, and I got into real estate and done quite well for myself. Got into commercial real estate, and well, I got out of prison and I married the girl that I got arrested with, and then we had a kid. But then, moving forward after prison, and after that, I separated with her and was a single dad for a small period of time, and then I met my current wife, and that's when I was in real estate and doing really well and got clean and sober and abstinent from all drugs and alcohol for about 8 years, and then I had to slip back. And all of that property and all of that prestige and my share portfolio and the houses and the brand new cars, they all went by the wayside. There's a saying in the recovery space that I've been involved in is, everything dissolves in a spoon. So, everything that I had just dissolved in a spoon, and I realized that, that wasn't what made me happy. And I seen some guys that I'd been in prison with getting out, and I seen the struggle that they were facing. And one thing that was starkly obvious for me was the difference in the color of our skin. And that, that was something that I was like, wow, what's going on over here? And decided to get out of real estate and actively get into the community services sector, because I felt like I had something to give. And I could use my experience there. Whereas in real estate, I felt like I was taking. Whereas when I got into the community services sector, I felt like I was giving back, and I was able to give back, and I was able to leverage my white privilege in that space to the best of my ability. And that's what I've been able to do, and that's what I continue to try and do. So yeah, that's, I started in the community housing because that was the only place I could get a job. With my real estate qualifications, I went back and I got a graduate certificate in Gestalt therapy and a diploma in community services.
Yeah.
So I've got qualifications. I know how to, and then when I went back, the one thing that I wanted to do was write a program for men exiting prison. After about 5 years in the community service sector, I was able to land a job that was doing that specific thing. And I wrote a program, and I've written programs and delivered them in corrective services centres in, 3 metropolitan centres in Sydney around employment and job readiness.
Amazing.
As a result, from different circumstances, and it didn't pan out how I thought it would. And then have, subsequently been, connected with Deadly Connections and been given favour to work in that space. And, hopefully, I'm not Aboriginal, so I don't talk about Aboriginal stuff. That's just me. However, I've been gifted to work in the space and leverage my white privilege and understand what I can do and my limitations in that space. But yeah, I feel like, we've had quite a bit of success with that. And then, I'm always advocating for people to get out of that poverty trap that is a result of criminal justice. Sometimes it's before, sometimes it's after. But what I've realized as a result of me afterwards, because I come from privilege, was, the way that the criminal justice system has impacted me has been directly around my ability to get a job and secure employment, which then impacts my ability to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And so on and so on. And it keeps me down and stuck in lower socioeconomic circles and environments. However, that's what I'm advocating for, change and supporting guys to get into employment and removing those discrimination barriers that people face once released from prison. Yeah.
So when we talk about well-being, and I think one big important part of that is purpose, isn't it? And in terms of feeling good about yourself, feeling like you contribute, and I think employment is such a big thing for everybody. It gives us structure, and we get a lot of confidence from it. How important is employment to people that you do deal with when they get out of prison?
It's such a significant factor. And I think the purpose thing, and when you said that, what I heard was hope.
Hope.
because hope is such a significant factor in this.
Yeah.
You know, people don't, you know, I was talking to someone else online that has a similar experience to me the other day, and it was around hope and how it's the most undervalued and unidentified and under-resourced tool in this. You know, people don't, how do you quantify hope, and what do you, like, it's really hard to get a KPI on it, if you know what I mean, which, don't get me started on KPIs. However, you know, hope, without hope, like, I'm just reduced to basic animal level. That's what happens for me, because that's what happened when I was using drugs. I was just like animalistic, and it was just, you know, it was a terrible look. However, when I get out and when I see guys get out and they have hope, oh, you know, I just want to go to work and I want to earn money and I want to provide for my family, and on and on and on. Like, unless that happens, you know, it just, what happens in the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, like 70-80% of people that go to prison, is around 3 months, it just becomes easier to go back to prison, because they haven't been able to get a job. They want to. However, you know, the discrimination around records checks and this, that, and the other, and the onerous conditions for parole sometimes really inhibits their ability to participate in the community as they want. So the purpose and having drive to get out of bed every morning, it's such a significant factor, David. And that employment gives people that.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much here, isn't there?
It is. And it's so, because the thing is, it's like, oh, you can get a job as a cleaner. Like, I don't want to be a cleaner. Like, I've got nothing against cleaners. That's not what I'm saying. Like, there's a need for people to have those jobs and do those jobs, and I'm grateful for that. You know what I mean? However, and if that's what someone wants to do, then happy days.
Yeah,
we'll get them a job. However, to be stuck in that for the rest of your life, that's a sense of hopelessness for me.
So when you talk about you know, people coming out of prison, and there's all these things that you know, barriers for them getting employment, or you know, being given the opportunity, and you've got parole measures and all these types of stuff. Like, what are your thoughts about organisations employing someone with a criminal record? Because I think you mentioned before, Dean, you know, there's police checks. Obviously, there's working with children as well, but predominantly we're talking about police checks here. Like, have you got any thoughts on organisations, you know, employing somebody with a criminal record?
Yeah. So the way I get around it, like, it's such we're so risk averse in society today, and it's just a standard practice for people to do criminal. Like, oh, you want a job? Let's do a criminal record check. It's like, what's the purpose of the criminal record check? Why do you need that? Unless it's against the inherent natures of the job. Like, there is no, like, fair enough if there's kids and certain charges, like, I'm not arguing around that. Look, there's no argument for that. It's black and white. However, you know, if a guy's like stolen a car, and to be judged off that mistake for the rest of his life, like that, you know, we've all made mistakes. I know that. Some have been caught for it, and a lot are judged off it for the rest of their life when they have been caught. So understanding, you know, what I've experienced when I go and I see employees, the first thing that they say to me is, will this guy turn up? Yes, I can guarantee it. And there's studies being done. I think it's by the Kellogg's not Institute. Sorry, I've gone blank with who they are. But it's around the value of employing somebody and the ripple effects of employing somebody that has a criminal record. But what happens is you get a valuable long-term employee. And I'm not talking about just like, so that's where where what I do comes into the fold, is like, I understand and I'm able to triage whether the guy's got a stable house, whether he's ready to go to work, whether he's, you know, if all the ducks are in a line. I never hesitate to put someone forward for a job. Never. Because what I get fed back to is, wow. And I get phone calls, can you get me some more of those guys? Because they turn up. One, because they value the opportunity they get. They're committed, they're passionate, they're resourceful, resourceful and resilient. Like, they're the buzzwords of all of these employees and HR. I've never come across a more resilient or resourceful group of people. How do you get resilience? Through adversity, through making mistakes. These guys have got that in spades, like there's no more resourceful people than I know, and resilient. It's some of the stuff and the things that I've seen in my time in prison around how they could boil hot water with 2 wires. And it's just like, okay, wow, these guys, and this is 18,000 people are released from prison in New South Wales every year.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, right. And how many? And what do we know? How many? What's the percentage of people that get back into employment and then percentage that go back to prison? Is it?
So it's about 75% go back.
Okay.
That's because of the barriers that they face and all of that sort of stuff, and discrimination and stuck in the poverty cycle and all that sort of stuff. However, what I do is I provide access to those 18,000 people. Like I provide access to a long-term loyal workforce.
Yeah. So if we break it down, and that's really like an untapped market, isn't it? For employees, where you get resilient employees that are committed, they'll always turn up. And however, there's obviously the barrier to get over in terms of the checks. Because I'm just thinking of the health and wellness industry, and whether it's a fitness instructor or a customer service officer, swim school teacher or lifeguard, or a lot of these facilities are government owned. They're managed by service providers, so there's obviously these checks that we need to do because it's law, and we have to do them. Absolutely. But from what you're saying is if organizations can look a little bit more empathetically, I suppose, and give a person that opportunity and that hope that you're talking about, then the benefits there are incredible. Yeah,
well, the ripple effect, it's not only just the employment, it's like a kid sees his dad going to work and not stealing and robbing, and like that ripple effect in those environments, like that's, how do you measure that? I don't know.
Yeah.
However, the opportunity so I teach organizations and companies how to mitigate that risk, how to mitigate the risk of employing. And so what I do is I'll hold their hand for 12 months. So if you've got a high turnover role where you struggle to fill somebody in, and some companies can spend up to $100,000 a year on employing just like one role. So if I could save you $100,000 a year, how much of that money would you give me?
Mm.
So for 1 year, you get the services of me.
Mm-hmm.
I bring the guy on, I teach all your staff how to talk to them, and I teach them how to talk to your staff, and I teach all of that sort of stuff.
Because that's an interesting piece around the culture, isn't it? Because if, say, you're bringing on somebody, you've got a team, and then you're bringing on somebody who's just been in prison for 3 years, it's like, how does the team interact with that person, language, and I would imagine, that there's stigma and stereotyping, and that's an interesting piece as well.
And what I find is open, clear communication around what's appropriate, what's not appropriate on both sides. It just works. And what it does, people are crying out for diverse workforces.
Yeah.
This ignites like people, as millennial workforces want to come and work with people that are a bit sort of, they just do with all of the Netflix and things that they hear about people in prison and all that sort of stuff. It creates that diverse workforce, as loath as I am to say it, like around that sort of, whatever mysterious mystique of the individual. However, it teaches companies how to be diverse and be open to diversity and implement diversity and make social change and impact, like the massive amount of, I don't know any other social impact that is greater than employing somebody with a criminal record. Like you can't have a greater social impact around changing social fabrics.
Yeah, and that diversity piece is interesting because there's so much research out there about productive teams, needing a diverse workforce, and that's from a whole range of things. It could be, disability or ethnicity or social, socioeconomic background, whatever.
And that process is hand in glove, essentially.
Yeah.
Like this just fits with so people that face discrimination and disadvantage. So, whether they're a minority or so, the same principle and premise is around remaining open-minded when onboarding these people and understanding that there's so much to learn from them, and that they open you up to a whole different demographic of clients, consumers, customers. Like, they bring, like you get people coming in that's like, where did this guy come from? It wouldn't normally turn up here, but you've got a couple of staff members now that are in that traffic. So just like any company that's not doing this at the moment is going to fall behind as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah. I think lived experience, you can't buy that. And nobody stays the same person forever. So, I'm 41 now, but when I was 21, I was a completely different person. And different at 30, and you change. So people make mistakes, and I loved what you said about it's about giving people an opportunity, and I think hope is.
So the way that I equate it is like, when you judge me on my past, you don't get to experience the best of me now. Like now, here I am now in front of you, and you're looking at like some 20-year-old idiot.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to look at the 21-year-old idiot, or do you want to look at this resourceful, resilient person that's in front of you?
Yeah.
That's ready, willing, and capable.
Yeah.
Because you're missing out on a valuable, like, these are long-term employees. That's the other thing that's happening in the employment market at the moment, the churn. People can't hold on to people. And like, it might have changed now because of COVID and there's a lot of unemployment.
Yeah.
But this is the time to build that diverse, resilient workforce. When is a better time?
Yeah, agreed. And it's that continuity of employment, isn't it? It breeds success. We're having a casualized workforce, or when somebody, you lose a person to another job or whatever, then you have to train somebody up, and it all takes time and money.
It's costly.
It's very costly. And in terms of, I suppose, the most in need in society, how do you think we can ensure that we give people the most, the people that are in most need get the most support? How can we do that?
Yeah, that's the system is a bit out of whack at the moment in relation to providing that sort of access. So what happens, as far as I can see at the moment, is, as deemed by the court system or the criminal justice system, what they identify is the people that are in the most amount of need are getting the most amount of punishment and have the most amount of onerous conditions placed on them currently. They go to jail. Like, essentially my thinking on this and how it was for me was, when I went away, is I was asking for help, anti-socially asking for help, guaranteed. But that is a cry out for help. People don't do what I was doing because they're happy and they're enjoying life. It's not like, I'm going to go and shoot dope and rob people and do all that stuff because I'm just winning. It's like, I feel terrible about myself. I don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't care who I hurt. So it's like that converse thing of like, how do we help people that are in pain? And hurt people, how all these people are lashing out and hurting people. How can we give them a hug? That's what I try and say to my kids at school. Like, if someone's bullying someone, they really need a hug. They don't need to be in trouble.
Yeah.
They need to be understood. So it's a shift systemically, and the other thing that I like to say is, a community problem requires a community solution. This is a community problem, right?
I like that.
We require a community solution. This isn't a one size fits all policy.
Yeah. So if we take that to facilities, then, like, aquatic leisure facilities. So if you're saying it takes it, because each community is different, each community's got its strengths, and its weaknesses, and its different idiosyncrasies, if that's a word. And but you know, if people are coming out of prison, you know, should that community not have a responsibility to try and integrate them back into the, you know, into that area and into employment, into local employment, which could be a you know, a local leisure centre.
And it's a fact. So if I get out of jail, invite me over for a cup of tea, I'm not going to rob you. I've got no need to rob you. I can come and knock on your door and say, hey, I need a cup of tea, I need a cup of sugar, I needed something. But if you discriminate, isolate me,
yeah, what
that creates is a need for me to earn and participate in criminal activity, because I can't participate in the community. I'm not welcome in society. So I'm like, what happens when I'm isolated is, oh, okay, I need to get food. I need, you know, Maslow's hierarchy, really. It's like basic human needs. How do we invite people in? And the thing is, this is where, like, it's a community solution and community problem scenario, is like, what happens in one community won't happen in another community. It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So what's happening in this community, we can learn from it, but we can't replicate. We can somewhat have a blueprint, but we need to understand and be driven. And this is where the community's lived experience, so the community live experience of what they want, needs to drive that. Yeah, that's the way I see it. So what happens in one social pocket of Sydney, like in the city, is going to be vastly different to what happens in Western Sydney.
Yeah, and I see
regional Sydney.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, you know, when government agencies or community groups, they want to go and deliver a program, and it's like they go into a community and go, this is what we're going to deliver. I mean, that's the wrong way to do it. It's about what do they want? You could take a principle in there, but they need to twist it, turn it into whatever.
The principle is the open mind.
Yeah,
take an open mind and listen. And like, because what happens is with government is like, wow, really successful results here.
Yeah,
let's send it out there where everything's turned to shit.
Yeah,
like, well, you can't do that. It's not going to work, as is evidence.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, speaking to you, Dean, I know this is the second time, and I think I said it at the beginning, like the first time we were hugging after it because I was taken away by you.
I'm a hugger.
And but like, how did you turn your life around? Like, how have
one person believed in me.
One person, okay.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And I've got other guys sitting in the office now that'll vouch for that.
Yeah.
One person believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. That said, no, Dean, you're a worthwhile human being. When everybody else is telling me I'm a piece of shit, and I feel like a piece of shit because I'm behaving like a piece of shit. It was one person that said, Dean, you can do it. I believe in you. I was where you were. Look at me now. I was like, fuck. That's all it took.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And it's powerful.
It's so powerful. And is that something that drives you every day then, the fact that someone believed in you? And because it sounds like whatever this person said to you and believe you've kind of synthesized that, and now you're scaling that and trying to challenge some of the status quo and really drive change.
It is what I'm really trying to do. I'm trying to just be able to give something that was freely given to me. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Just go, hey guys, I was like you. No, I'm not. When I tell my story, it isn't for, favor or to make, feel sorry for me or to highlight that, I'm better or less than anyone. What it is to prove to people that people can change. When given an opportunity, when provided with adequate support, when provided with opportunity. People change. We change all the time.
And I think character is the other thing I'd add to it. You know, people don't need to have the right skills or experiences. As long as they've got a bit of character, everything else can be learned. But you need to have someone who, or an organization that cares for you, is supportive, and, you know, doesn't not bother about letting you fail, but, you know, just to give you a go.
And realistic, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't behave like that, behave like this. Like boundaries, clear boundaries. I'm not, you know, I don't want favor. I just want an opportunity. Yeah. I'm not asking for like special compensation. I'm just asking for an opportunity, a level playing field that everybody else is on. Not like, nah, you got a record, mate. Bad luck. 20 years later, I'm still facing discrimination.
From when 20 years later.
So I made the mistake that I made in 1999.
What was that?
That's when I done an armed robbery.
Yeah.
I went to prison for that. So in 1999, that's when I made the mistake.
Yeah.
2020, I'm still being filtered through that in the employment realms, in certain areas. Like, mind you, people don't see that person in front of them often now. However, if I was going for a job with a government agency and someone pulls my record up that doesn't know me, that hasn't met me, oh, no thanks. That's it. It's over. That's it. Done. Conversation finished. I'm not even in the conversation. I don't even get to have it. I get the job interview. People are like, wow, this guy knows his stuff. Wow, we really need to employ him. Gets to HR, bang.
Because it's risk, isn't it? And it's reputation, and that's the lens that people are looking at through it. But the question I want to ask you is, if something
it's closed-minded, it's narrow-mindedness, and it's closed mind, because the person that's sitting in the room making the judgment doesn't even know me, hasn't probably looked at the date and gone 20 years ago. Wow.
Yeah,
this guy's still alive.
It's a fixed mindset, isn't it? But what would be a takeaway? Like, what could you tell an organization to look at if something came up on somebody's record? What would be the next step that you know to give them a chance?
Face-to-face meeting. Get them to come into the office, sit down, have a conversation with them. Let them. So the way that I deal with it when I'm talking with people now, that I don't feel the need to tell like the deep, dark details.
Yeah.
I made some bad choices in my life. That was a long time ago. What I'm trying to do is make some better choices and better decisions in my life. Would you like to help me do that?
Yeah, nice.
Would you like to help me make my life better and improve my life and improve everybody else's life that's around me? Who doesn't want to do that? If someone says no to that, I don't want to work for them. Really? Do you want to work for somebody that says no to that?
Well, it's not the values that are important to me, for sure.
Yeah. Same. So I would just be like, look, if you don't want to help me make better decisions, fair enough, I might not be the best candidate. That's respect on that, whatever that is. Yeah. However, if I said that to somebody, if I was an employer and someone said that to me, I'd hire the guy straight on the spot. Like, if he said to me, I'm trying to make a better chance at my life, can you help me? Like, the guy's asking for help.
Yeah. He's reaching out. Exactly. If it's in your power.
Staff members should be asking for help. Like, if they come in and they know everything, like, wow, that's a dangerous employee.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like, if I know everything, like, fair enough, you'll hire them for a certain skill set. Yeah, that's given. However, if I know everything about that, like, that's dangerous as far as I'm concerned, because you can't tell me anything. If I know everything, you cannot tell me anything.
Well,
I know it.
It's that fixed mindset again, isn't it? I know everything and I know best.
Yeah.
Which is,
whereas if it's like, can you help me? That guy's malleable. You can mold that individual into anything you want.
Yeah.
Employee-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've sold me, obviously.
I got the job.
I'm on board. I'll just jump into the next couple of questions. Obviously, chronic conditions are on the rise, and we Australians aren't winning the battle, Dean.
Yeah.
In terms of improving the well-being of Australians, what do you think we could do to nudge the system in the right way?
Food, what we put in our body. Simple as that. Just what we're eating. Like, it's the gut health argument is just, it's all there. Go and do the research. I don't feel like I need to even argue about that or even put a case forward. So, all the evidence there is around mental health, gut health, and the link between the two.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, the crap that we eat nowadays, even my kids, like, I'm not above this, don't get me wrong. You'll come home, my kids have eaten a packet of chips. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, it's not good.
Well, I think we'll leave that one there because that's your shortest answer. I think food's nice and easy. But my last question is: we've talked a lot about your history and your experiences, and then the work that you're doing now. But if you could, I'll rephrase that. In terms of you yourself, personally within the system, how do you contribute and influence to it?
You mean change, or how do I keep it same? Because there's a big difference.
So how, obviously you're trying to get people into employment and, support them back into society. That's through the work that you do. But you personally, where do you see yourself in the system?
So I'm an antagonist for change. That's where I've realized that, I'm probably not going to get a government job. So I'm happy to agitate and advocate for change and just call it how I see it, really. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm right 100% of the time either. However, what I experience and what I witness, the system needs to change. Like the system, and this is part of it. Talking to guys like you, David, around spreading the word around the discrimination and disadvantage that people face. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. They think that someone gets out from prison and that's it, it's done. It's not. So the perpetual punishment that happens and results as a involvement with criminal justice system is real. So understanding and educating people on like what we're doing in relation to that. And I'm not talking about mass murderers, and I'm not talking about pedophiles. Like, that's 3% of the prison population. It's not an argument that I'm even entering into. What I'm talking about is the 97% of prison population that we're punishing that need help. And mass murderers and pedophiles need help too. However, it's beyond me, that help. I'm not even advocating for that. That's not a question, because that's usually the first thing that people argue. Oh, what about this and what? I'm talking about the guy that's going to get out and live next door to you. Everyone gets released. Everyone, whether they're dead or alive. But I think it's about 95% of people get out of prison alive.
Right. Okay.
How are we spitting them back out in better conditions? And I don't even want to put them in like that whole, I'm an abolitionist. I went from prison reform to prison abolition. And this is where I get into the argument around the other people that I've already mentioned. However, something needs to change. Like, if we keep doing the same thing, why would we expect a different result? Why should we expect a different result? And who are the people that are, this is a society thing. A community problem requires a community solution. So until that starts to happen, that's what I'm advocating for. And that's where I sit in the space around removing barriers and discrimination and disadvantage and stigmas that result for minorities, really. Whether it's skin color, whether it's a wheelchair, whether it's hair color, whatever it is, sexual preclusion, that sort of stuff. Like, whatever it is, I'm about removing those barriers and stigmas. The other one that I like to say is labels are good on jars, not people. Like, it's just not. Like, I really like to know what's in a tin of tomatoes when I open it, because it's on the outside. However, the stigmatizing nature of a label is debilitating for so many people. And that's what I want to remove, the labels that we place on people and each other.
Well, I think you're doing a terrific job, Dean, and Thank you for showing your vulnerability and being so open with your past. I think there's a lot of lessons for us all in there around giving people an opportunity, giving people hope, and giving looking at the whole community approach, as you say, like it takes a village, and that really is a
Yeah.
kind of systems approach. So keep doing what you're doing, and you're having that massive ripple effect and changing lives, which is really inspiring. So is there anything that you would like to ask me, or anything that you want to add?
No, the other thing I'd like to say is make the world a safer place, employ someone with a criminal record.
That's a slogan, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, it is, because if you're not going to give me a job while you're at work, I'm going to have to come and rob you. It's not the first card I like to play, but it's the one that always gets everybody over the line when I'm talking to employers. Like, look,
gets
if
their
you don't give this
attention.
guy a job, what's he going to do? What opportunities is he going to have? There's only one other opportunity, because he knows what to do. When you've only got a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah.
Awesome, Dean. So listen, thank you so much. It's been brilliant. I love talking to you. It's always so interesting. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the year and all the work that you do. And hopefully catch up with you soon in person.
Yeah, look forward to it, David. Thank you. Can't wait to give you another hug, mate.
Yes, I'm up for that. Cheers, Dean.
Take care. Thanks a lot, mate.
Mate.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.